This is Professor Parker, and welcome to All This Math. And right about now, we're about to get into some multiplication. All right, but we're not going to do the traditional old school method of what we call long multiplications, or I should say, not multiplications, long multiplication. We're going to do some lattice method. We're going to use the lattice method tonight. All right, so with the lattice method, we create like a box, like a diagram, right? It's kind of like an array, all right? You start with a rectangle, and then you break that rectangle down into some columns and also some rows. And you should be wondering, well, how many columns? How many rows? It depends on how many digits your factors have. Or if you want to be technical, this number in a multiplication statement, the first number is called a multiplicand, right? The second number is called a multiplier. So you have a multiplicand, then a multiplier. Now, you first start out with a rectangle, right? I'm gonna break this down for you because this is part of it. This is like the beginning part, right? Of using the lattice method. Matter of fact, let me write that down. Lattice, not lettuce, like lettuce and tomatoes, not like that, but lattice. Lattice method. All right, that's what we're about to do. We're about to get into the lattice method of multiplication. All right, so first, draw a rectangle. That's big enough right there. All right, now my multiplicand, my first number has 3 digits in it. So that means I'm going to have 3 columns. If I got 3 digits, I got 3 columns in my first number. All right, so let me just do this. 1, 2, to make my 1, 2, 3. It's my 3 columns. Now, my multiplier, or my second number, has 2 digits in it. So that means I'm going to have 2 rows, right? My row, the number of rows I have is determined by my second number in a multiplication statement. My number of columns I have is determined by the first number I have in a multiplication statement. So let's do this. Boom. All right. Now, where do I put those numbers? That's the next question. Where does this 3, this 4, and this 8 go? All right. So you take each of the digits and you write them in their same order, and they should be above each column. Each digit should be above each column, meaning I'm going to put my 3 above this column. My 3 from the hundreds place. My number from the tens place, which is 4, I'm going to put that above the second column. My number from the ones place, which is 8, I'm going to put that above this column, right? So now my columns are accounted for. Now I go to the 15, right? The 15, it's not going to go on the right side. It's going to go it's not going to go on the left side. It's going to go on the right side. It's going to go on the right side. The 1 from the tens place goes next to the top row. The 5 from the ones place goes next to the bottom row. All right. Now, the next thing I got to do before I actually start multiplying is I have to draw diagonal lines. And basically what I have to do is I have to create triangles, right, out of each of these squares. Got to create triangles. So I go from the upper right corner of each square to the bottom left corner of each square. And you want to draw it beyond the edge of the square, right? You want to draw it beyond. So then I go to the upper right corner of this square. And for this one, I'm not going to stop right here. I'm going to keep going. Boom, do that. And then I'm going to go to the upper right corner of this square. And then I'm going to go like that, and then keep going. And then I'm going to go to the upper right corner of this square. I'm going to go like that, and I'm going to keep going. All right? Now we're ready to do our multiplication. Now, when we do our multiplication, we're basically doing the same type of multiplying that you will be doing if you were filling out a multiplication table template, like the ones that you can download, print out in PDF form off my website on allthismath.com under printables, which I recommend because multiplication is the foundation of a lot of mathematical skills and a lot of algebra and geometry, knowing multiplication facts by heart without even having to really think about it for an extended period of time and not having to take out a piece of paper and a pencil and figure out what, 12 times 8 is. We should just know 12 times 8 is 96. All right. We should just know that. And we want our children to know that as early as possible. So they can be competitive. All right, but back to this. So it's kind of like it's set up like a multiplication table, meaning the 8 is right here and the 1 is right here. So I want to know what the product of 8 and 1 is, or What's the answer when I do 8 times 1? 8 times 1 is 8, right? Now that's a single digit number, all right? That's a single digit number. We have 2 spaces right here, right? Because we drew the lines to divide these squares up into triangles, right? So that means that the 8 is in the ones place. So we put an 8 here. And whenever you get a single digit number, you put a 0 in the top triangle. So keep that in mind. Whenever you multiply and get a single digit number, you write the single digit number in the bottom triangle and you put a 0 in the upper triangle. All right. Now, 4 is right here. 1 is right here. So 1 comes across. We're in the 1 row and the 4 column. So 4 times 1, the product goes right here. 4 times 1 is 4. So I put a 4 right here and I put a 0 up top. All right. The 3 column crosses with the 1 row. 3 times 1 is 3. So I put a 3 right here and I put a 0 up top. All right. Now that row is completed. Now I gotta fill in the bottom row. 8 times 5. 8 times 5 is 40. All right. Now the 4 goes into tens place. So that's up here. And the 0 goes into ones place down there. So I got 40. Then I do 4 times 5, which is 20. All right. Then I do 3 times 5, which is 15. All right. So now I'm done with all my multiplication. My last step is to do addition. But what are we adding? You look at your diagonal rows. Look at your diagonal rows. Starting from the bottom, right? Starting from the bottom. We don't start from the top diagonal row. We start from the bottom diagonal row. So this row right here, right? Right? Make sure you understand, like, look at the diagonal rows, not the vertical rows or the vertical columns or the horizontal rows, but the diagonal rows based upon these diagonal lines that we drew. All right? And we take the sum of all of the numbers in the diagonal rows that are inside the rectangle. All right. So in this row, we just have a 0. So 0 plus nothing is just 0. So you write the sum of those rows outside of the row right there like that. Then you go to this row. It has 3 digits in it, 8, 4, and 0. 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 plus 0 is still 12. So I still need to carry. I can't write more than 1 digit in the row. So I write my 2 right here, and I carry the 1 to the next row. I carry the 1 to the next row, just like we normally do when we add numbers vertically, right? So now I got 1 plus 0, which is 1. 1 plus 4, which is 5. 5 plus 2, which is 7. 7 plus 5, which is 12 again. Now I get 12 again, right? So I write my 2. And I carry this 1. All right. So now I'm in my next row. I do 1 plus 0, which is 1. That 1 plus 3 gives me 4. 4 plus 1 gives me 5. So I write 5 right there. Now my last row up top is just 0. That's nothing. Now, how do I read my answer? I read my answer counterclockwise. Counterclockwise. Not clockwise, but counterclockwise. Counterclockwise. This 0 doesn't matter because it's the first digit. So we can kind of disregard this 0. But we write our answer like this. 5, 2, 2, 0. And then, of course, starting from the right, every 3 digits has a comma after it. So our final answer, or our product of 348 times 15 is 5,220. And that's how you use the lattice method. I like the lattice method. Lattice method was actually taught to me by a student of mine like about 10 years ago. Young brother taught it to me. When I was coming up, when I was in elementary school, we didn't learn the lattice method. It wasn't in the curriculum. I learned it later on in life as a teacher in a pre-calculus class, teaching pre-cal. And one day a young brother, good brother named Taj, put me on. Showed me how to do the lattice method. I liked it ever since, you know. So at any rate, I hope that this is helpful. Again, there are many ways to do multiplication. And I think that we actually empower our young people and empower ourselves when we have multiple tools and multiple different ways of solving problems, evaluating expressions, simplifying problems, doing calculations, doing different types of computation. You know, the lattice method is another method of multiplication. Besides long multiplication, there's multiplication by partitions, or the area model. There's partial products multiplication. There's kinetic multiplication, what our ancestors used to get into. You know, that old math, right? That still works today. Still works today. I'm gonna do a video on that pretty soon. I think I did one already, but I'm gonna do another one. Do some more videos on kinetic multiplication, known more commonly as Egypt, but our ancestors called it Kemet. So that's what I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it kinetic multiplication. At any rate, thank you for tuning in. I hope you learned something new. Please like the video, share the video, tell some people about it. You know, tell a friend to tell a friend. And as usual, always remember that there's all this math all around you.